Hey, I'm ChristopherJMUA and welcome back to my channel. Today is the very first episode of a brand new series I'm introducing to my channel called Makeup 101. I have been wanting to start this series since the very beginning of my channel. I've just never had the time and now finally I do. So if you'd like to know what Makeup 101 is, if you'd like to know what future plans I have for this series, and if you'd like to know a little bit more about primer, then stay exactly where you are, keep doing exactly what you're doing, and keep on watching. Okay guys, so Makeup 101. What is this series that I'm starting here? One of the biggest problems I had whenever I started going to cosmetology school and then started getting into the whole beauty world is obviously I wanted to know more about makeup. I wanted to know what products there were, what steps there were, how to use them, and I noticed that majority of the YouTube channels or websites that I went to gave tips and tricks for specific products or specific needs. There wasn't really one person that addressed everything I needed to know on one channel in an easy to find way, hence inspiring me to create my own series that I henceforth dubbed Makeup 101. And we're gonna go over these items in the order that you would use them if you're doing a full face of makeup starting with your face. Now, as I said before, I am a licensed cosmetologist, so I do have some school training, but the material that I'm gonna be using today and through the course of this series is gonna be a mix of just general knowledge I found from multiple places. What I know from school, articles, Wikipedia, the stuff that's laid out in fact that I can follow back to a source and know that I can educate you guys with real, usable knowledge. And without further ado, let's talk about primer. What is primer? Primer, which is a noun, is a material used to prime a surface, also called a prime coat. So definition of primer is very vague, meaning just about anything that you use before your foundation is essentially a primer. And whether you need a primer or not is completely up to you. I know there's this big thing going around. I know there's very specific opinions on some people thinking primers are a ripoff, some people thinking they need a primer every day, they can't live without it. And a lot of it does come down to personal preference. I'm the type of person where I'm gonna use a primer every single time I do my makeup, no doubt. But there are definitely people out there who don't use primers ever and they have flawless makeup. So it's not necessary, it's not essential, but you can use primers in ways that can help you specifically achieve better results for your makeup application or even just better skin for the day. Whatever your need is, you can achieve the result with a primer as well. Fun fact about primer, in 1730, when the first geishas, which were men, by the way, so all you homies out there saying that it's ridiculous that men wear makeup and we're not supposed to wear makeup, geishas did and they were boys first. So obviously you're a little outdated since you didn't know that in 1730 boys were wearing makeup. But these geishas would use bentsuki wax, which is what sumo wrestlers used to flatten down their hair whenever they would go to fight. They started using that bentsuki wax on their face before their white face paint to get better longevity out of that white makeup. And that's exactly the basic concept of primer today, is to help the longevity of your makeup. Unless you're looking for benefits in other ways aside from longevity. Now for that example, I'm speaking specifically for facial primers, but there are actually 4 basic types of primers when we talk about makeup. There's eyeshadow primer, which again, there's facial primer, which is the one I was referring to. And with those, you've got mattifying, luminous, pore filling, hydrating, smoothing, color correcting, sunscreen, and more skincare heavy products. Then you've got eyelash primer, which is typically applied before your mascara. Those normally help with either lengthening or volumizing or both. Some help with flaking, some help with smudging, some help even grow your lashes and improve the health of the hair of your lashes. Then you've got eye primers or eyeshadow primers. Those will help with smoothing, creasing, color pigmentation, longevity, and can also be color correcting to cancel out any darkness on your lids. And then last, you've got lip primers. Those are typically applied right before lipstick as well. And these are typically smoothing, color correcting. They stop feathering usually. If your lipstick typically goes outside the lines and starts feathering out further, they help with that a little bit. They're also color correcting and help improve longevity as well. Now for today, I'm going to be using 4 different primers so I can show you guys 4 different examples of the effects that you can get by using different primers. So we've got the Smashbox Photo Finish Pore Minimizing Primer. This one's just going to help fill in all of those pores and holes in your face and give a nice smooth finish. We've also got the Tarte Base Tape. This is more of a hydrating sort of skincare kind of primer. This is just going to help with smoothing and plumping the skin, giving that really natural hydrated look. We've got the Makeup Revolution Fix and Glow Ultra Glow Primer. This one's going to give us a really luminous, kind of highlightery sort of effect. Then this isn't actually a primer because I always either throw away or give away all of my mattifying primers because I've got dry skin. So typically I just get rid of those as fast as possible. But for today, we're going to be using this Milani Make It Last Matte Setting Spray just as a facial primer instead of a setting spray. And this should have about the same kind of effect as what a matte primer would have. And for foundation, I'm going to be using my Tarte Shape Tape. This is one of my favorite foundations to just get a natural looking finish. I think it'll work best for the example for today because the formulation of the foundation shouldn't affect the formulation of the primers too much. So first, I need to get my hair out of the way. And now we're going to slice my face like a pizza. I'm going to use my little Wet n Wild multi-stick here, just in black, not that it matters. And we're gonna split right down the middle of my face. Good grief, can I draw a straight line, please? And then I guess we'll go from the tip of the nose and make the other 2 sides. Oh, that is beautiful. Love that. Can I just make this my new signature look? This would be the easiest look you do every day if you want to copy it. Okay, so first, let's start out with the Smashbox Minimize Pores Primer. Before I put any of this on though, I'm gonna go ahead and zoom you guys in and show you my face close up. All I've got on today is a little bit of toner and a really light moisturizer, so nothing that's extra smoothing or luminous or anything like that. I wanted to start with as clean of a base as possible so we could really tell the difference in the primers. So here's my face. Pores and all, close up. You can see everything. I'm so sorry. Now that you've seen my face really close up, I'm gonna leave you right here and let's go ahead and start. So for pore filling, I'm gonna pick the space on my face that's definitely more full of pores than anywhere else. And for me, that is hardcore my nose and my forehead. Now this next part's probably gonna seem a little weird to you guys, but I love this method of application. If you take a palette knife and use the curved side, you can move around a pore filling primer without taking all of it out of your pores. So you put it in, squish it in wherever you want, take the flat part of the palette knife and just scoop it away. And you just do the same thing up higher, smush it in, scoop it away. I just love doing this because I know it's not gonna leave any excess residue, and I personally hate that if there's any left over.
So I have a client here that...
I'm also very holy on my cheek area as well, so I'm gonna fill there. Really my nose, my cheeks, and my forehead. That's my biggest holy places, if you want to call it that. Okay, got it all applied, mushed into everywhere I want it to be. Now I'm just gonna take my fingers and wipe off any excess. Make sure it really melts into the skin, looks beautiful and flawless and soft. And the pore-filled corner is filled. Easy peasy. Now we're gonna use the Tarte Base Tape. This is really, really hydrating. It's a very wet formula, almost as creamy and hydrating as a serum would be. And with this one, it doesn't require nearly as much detail. You just put it on, really. And this is typically the type of product that I would use on someone with more mature skin or someone that is younger but's been smoking all their life and they have just more texture, more fine lines, more, well, texture than what is average. Then going in with a hydrating primer like this really just helps the skin itself be the best that it can be. Skin, when it gets hydrated, usually plumps up a little bit. Fine lines start smoothing out a little bit just because the skin is getting enough hydration to really plump up. I think a product like this is necessary no matter your skin type. Even if you're oily, hydration is key. So the Smashbox Minimize Pores on the top left, the Tarte Base Tape on the top right. My right, your left and right. Scratch that, reverse it. Then for the bottom left of my face, or bottom right for you, I'm gonna use the Makeup Revolution Fix and Glow Primer. Normally, I prefer to use a larger foundation brush for these types of products when I'm applying it all over my full face. Since we're only doing a corner though, I'm just gonna use this little Morphe 208 brush. Oh, that stuff is so gorgeous. Not quite as gorgeous as my Gerard Cosmetics BB Plus face facial cream, but still gorgeous. As you can see, I've applied much more just to really get it glowy. I'm serious, when I first got into the world of beauty, it was so hard to find factual information that wasn't based on tea and drama, or that wasn't based on brand promotions and sponsorship. You know, there's a difference between telling somebody they need a primer because you love the brand and love the money that they put into your bank account, than there is telling somebody they need a product for a specific need that their skin makes them have. It's not to say I wouldn't love making a bunch of money for recommending products that I love, but it's gotta be a good product. Now we are very extra glowy in that bottom left corner. That looks so ridiculous. Now it's time to use the mattifying setting spray from Milani. Now I'll tell you guys that I've never used this before as a primer. I don't actually know if it's gonna work. I'm just assuming it's gonna work because the setting spray is mattifying. So I've shaken it. I'm just gonna go ahead and spray a pretty concentrated amount since it is a spray and not a primer. Oh my goodness, it burns my tongue. I should not have sprayed it in my mouth, and I should not have been talking. Now here is all four corners with everything done completely and dried. That was the important part, dried. So again, we've got the Smashbox Minimize Pores, the Tarte Base Tape, the Makeup Revolution Ultra Glow Primer, and the Milani Matte Setting Spray. Now using my Blendiful and my Tarte Face Tape, I'm gonna go ahead and apply the same amount of foundation to all four corners. Now obviously this is not the most beautiful look ever created on this channel. That is not the point today. We're not trying to make a beautiful look. I'm literally just trying to show you the differences in the primer underneath the foundation. So here we are with all the foundation done and applied. Let me zoom you in one more time. And I also just turned the brightness down just a little bit so you could see texture a little bit easier. So Smashbox Pore Minimizer, the Tarte Base Tape, Makeup Revolution Fix and Glow, and Milani Make It Last Matte. Kind of funny because the Smashbox I didn't realize is also a little bit mattifying. I didn't realize until I saw the foundation on top of it, but these two corners both look pretty matte. Which leads me to my next point. Don't think that you've got to stick with one primer effect or one primer solution to fit your needs. There are plenty of primers that have more than one benefit made into them already, a lot of them being pore filling. But with that point, it just goes to show that you can truly customize primers to fit the needs that you have. So if you have really oily skin, use something mattifying and hydrating to still combat that oil accumulation throughout the day, but still give your skin the healthy hydration that it needs to stop it from being so oily in the first place. Or if you suffer from discoloration and dullness, mix you something that's really hydrating with something that has a little bit of a glow to it, and you'll have hydrated skin that's being taken care of, but the look of glowy skin. So point persists that you can truly customize all of these to work in the way that you need them to. And that's what I love about primers. I've got to clean this off my face real quick so I can take myself seriously again, and I'll be right back. Now the last facial primer that I'm going to reference is color correcting facial primers. I'm not going to go into color correcting too much right now because I'm going to wait for the concealer video to go over all color correction and the how and the why behind it. But just know that there are color correcting primers that exist, and they also can have mixed benefits like hydrating, pore filling, luminous, etc., and be different colors to help negate existing color. Now moving on, we are going to touch on eyeshadow primer. We're also going to be touching on lash primer and a lip primer as well, just not in any kind of great depth because there aren't too many different aspects of them. So first off, eye primers. Now you do have some of the same types of benefits from eyeshadow primers as you do facial primers. Some are luminous, some are mattifying, but most of them help, or at least say they help, with creasing, smudge resistance, wear time, and pigmentation and performance of shadow. Those are usually the main characteristics of eyeshadow primers and what most companies boast for their eyeshadow eyeshadow primers. I'm going to be using 4 today just to show you the differences. On half of one eye, I'm going to use the P. Louise base in the shade Rumor 02. On the inside of this eye, I'm going to be using the Thrive Cosmetics Eye Lift 360 Waterproof Primer. Then on the inside of this eye, I'm going to use my Gerard Cosmetics Clean Canvas Eye Base in the shade Medium. And the outside of this eye is going to be my Urban Decay Primer Potion in the shade Honey. And I picked these 4 because they all have different types of formulas. The P. Louise is more for smoothing, crease-proof color pigmentation. It's one of my favorites if I'm making really bright, bold, colorful looks. The Thrive Eye Lift is a translucent mattifying primer, so it's going to help with the smoothing and the crease proof, but it's also going to give everything kind of a softer look. Blending on top of this eyeshadow primer is beautiful. Everything just looks so soft and perfect. Then the Clean Canvas Eye Base is a very smoothing. It's a little bit thicker of a consistency. It makes everything really soft and plush looking, but it's got a lot of pigment in it, so it cancels out any existing color, as well as the P. Louise base doing that. I forgot to mention that as well, but they both cover up my darkness completely. You can even see just in the crease of my eye how dark the coloring is there. I love using these types of primers for that. Then last, you've got colored eyeshadow bases. This one is whenever Urban Decay launched their Honey palette, they wanted, I guess, to make a honey tinted eyeshadow base to go along with it. So not only is this one tinted, but it's also a luminizing base because it's metallic. But if we look at P. Louise again, she's got tons of colored bases, and you can use these almost like face paints, body paints, eyeshadow bases. They work for just about everything, but they're pigmented, so you don't have to add something on top if you don't want to. Then P. Louise again also has specific metallic bases. They're only luminous, just like the Urban Decay Honey Primer Potion. So you can see you've definitely got tons of option for eyeshadow primers as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and start applying these. Like I said, outer edge with the P. Louise base. See, immediately we're color corrected on that outer half. That darkness that I usually have, almost completely gone. Now, the Thrive Translucent Matte. One thing I have noticed about more of these soft velvety kind of eyeshadow primers like this Thrive one is if you don't blend it out almost immediately after you put it on, it dries so fast that you won't get to blend it out. So I definitely recommend blending them almost right after you apply it. For sure, do one eye at a time. Okay, got that one applied and blended, and you can tell it doesn't really have any kind of color correction to it. It's so translucent, you can see my eye color through it already. Then the Clean Canvas Eye Base in Medium on the inner half of this eye. You see how much coverage that gives? Immediately. It's like, what texture? What discoloration? And last, Urban Decay Primer Potion in the shade Honey. I was so surprised the first time I used this stuff. I didn't know it was metallic or tinted. And I put it all over my eye and I was like, what is this? I'm definitely gonna have a honey colored eyeshadow. And I did. That is some glowy primer if I've ever seen any. All right, so it's metallic, reflective, and colored like honey. Now let's put these to the test and see what the real difference is. So I'm gonna use this Morphe flat brush, and I'm gonna go into this Blend Bunny Blends palette, and let's just use this bright blue bubble bath shade. I feel like that's really gonna show the color on top of the eye look. And I'm just gonna take this color and pack it all over the lid. That way you can see what the difference is on top of each eyeshadow primer formula. All I'm doing is patting the color on. I'm not gonna do any kind of blending yet at first. Just want to see if there's a difference in packing on the shadow and getting it to stick. Thus far, between both the Urban Decay and the Gerard Cosmetics, they both hold on to the pigment just as well. Stuck to both sides, very clean, very pigmented. Now between P. Louise and Thrive. So here we are upon initial application. This is one dip into the pan on both sides. So again, we've got the P. Louise base in the shade Rumor 02 on the outer edge of this eye, the Thrive Cosmetics Eye Lift 360 on the inside of this eye, the Gerard Cosmetics Clean Canvas Eye Base for the inside of this eye, and then the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion in the shade Honey as the outer section of this eye. Now, while we're close up, I'm gonna use a big fluffy brush and just start to blend these outer edges so we can see if there's a difference in blendability per eyeshadow base. I'm not applying any additional pigment, I'm just taking what's already there and attempting to blend it upwards into the crease. And one last time, we've got the P. Louise base in the shade Rumor 02, the Thrive Cosmetics Eye Lift 360, Gerard Cosmetics Clean Canvas Eye Base in the shade Medium, and the Urban Decay Primer Potion in the shade Honey. I realize that was only showing 4 primer examples, and there are many more than 4 eyeshadow primers in the world, but that kind of helps with just the general idea of the different kinds of primers you can have and what different effects you can achieve by using different products. And you know, the same story goes for eyeshadow primers as it does for facial primers. You can always mix and match and customize to your specific needs. And that's the beauty of makeup in general. It can be for you. Now that we've covered eyeshadow primer, I want to cover eyelash primer. Since I've got the blue on my lids already, I figured this is a perfect time to cover the lash primer because we'll actually be able to see it on top of blue. Again, for lash primers, there are tons and tons available within the beauty space. One of my favorites is the Urban Decay Subversion Mascara Primer, but I think I've used all mine. So for today, we're going to use the Blink Black Lash Primer. This is called Jet Black Volume, so I'm assuming it's a volumizing and very pigmented. And we're going to be using the Midas Cosmetics All Night Bender Mascara. I've already curled my lashes, so I'm going to go ahead and zoom you guys in, and we're going to do one lash with only the mascara and the other lash with the primer and mascara. Here are my lashes as is. They're not the biggest, fluffiest lashes, but I like them. They're mine. And I'm going to begin with the lash primer on my right side. I like to apply my primers first so I can let it dry before I go in with my mascara. Oops, I'm making a mess. Oh well, this isn't about being clean. Wow, I realize that's ridiculously messy and I apologize. I'm just glad it's not about how pretty it looks. Anyways, so that is the primer side applied. That's what it looks like, just with primer, nothing else. And we're gonna let that dry while I apply the mascara to the left side. And now we've got the mascara side applied as well. So mascara and lash primer. Now let's go ahead and add some mascara to the lash primer. See if we have different lashes on both sides. We definitely have different lashes right now. Now both sides are done and here are the final results. So again, just the mascara and now the mascara and primer together. It is so crazy to me that yes, it said it will help volumize lashes. And sure enough, that is the one thing it did, was it helped to volumize my lashes. And see, this is an example of more of a subtle difference between a lash primer and a mascara because both of them had sort of the same results aside from the primer being more voluminizing. And now our last priming product that we're talking about today is a lip primer. Today I'm going to be using the e.l.f. Lip Priming Duo. One side of this is a plumper and the other is the primer. The primer is just about a concealer. That's kind of what I think of when I look at this lip primer. All the lip primers I've used have been a little bit different. Some of them are different shades for a base tone. Some of them have more plumping properties, but I'm going to apply this one to half of my lips. With primer applied to half of my lip, you can very clearly see now that it's very color corrected. There are no existing pigments underneath that's going to pull through and change the color of the lipstick, but also my lip is smoothed out. So it's helped get rid of all those little tiny cracks, all those little rough edges. So this is giving me the perfect base to build on top of to stop the feathering, to give longevity, and to help the coloration. And for lipstick, I'm using the Gerard Cosmetics Bullet Lipstick in the shade London Fog. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous mauve purple. I'm pretty sure it's my favorite shade of lipstick from Gerard Cosmetics. But I'm gonna go ahead and just start this on the side that doesn't have any primer on it, then move to the primer side. Oh, well, that's a look. I love that, don't you guys? It's gorgeous. Okay, well, now the primed side. Now that I've got both sides of the lips done, the difference between the sides is so subtle that I don't really know if you'd even notice on the street. This is the first time I've used this specific combo of products before. I've normally only used that e.l.f. primer with a liquid lipstick, not a cream-based lipstick. So I think I had a little bit of trouble with the cream lipstick mixing with the base, even though I blotted the base a little bit. So you can kind of see that this side that had the base on it looks a tiny bit lighter because of the pigments mixing a little bit. But this side also looks smoother than this side because it had a nice clean even slate to build lipstick on top of. And getting a nice clean edge was so much easier on the primed side because I already had a clean edge to follow. So you can tell there are definitely different goals you can achieve using a lip primer. Just pay attention to the type of lip primer that you might need for yourself and what kind of benefits it has specifically for your need. And with the lip primer, that was our very last primer to discuss in today's episode of Makeup 101. So now that we're done with our first ever episode, what did you guys think? Let me know down in the comments. Give me your opinions, your thoughts, your recommendations, your suggestions. I'm more than happy to hear about it. Maybe we can adjust things as we go on if there's something that you wanted to hear that I didn't talk about, or vice versa. If there's something I talked about you didn't want to hear, let me know down in the comments. I have many more of these videos planned and upcoming, so definitely stay tuned to the Makeup 101 series. We're we're gonna cover everything. Every step of a routine that you can think of, we're probably gonna talk about it. So if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up just to let me know that you had fun, that you got something out of it. It was entertaining or educational. Hopefully you gained at least one thing out of this video. Maybe you learned a little something about primers that maybe you didn't know before, since that is the point of this series. Also, if you guys want to see any of my looks, you can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, and TikTok. My username is the same for everything. It's just ChristopherJMUA. And if you gain nothing out of this video, if you gain nothing out of any of my videos, then please at least gain this. And that is to always remember and never forget that you are absolutely beautiful. And I love you guys. Bye!